Good morning, New Eden. Today is October 2nd, 2022, and this is the Federation Frontline Report. So it looks like there is a little bit of a difficulty pulling up the right thing here. Where did that go? But I'm today is joined with Samson and Nightflyer are here with us today. Samson, how's it been going?
It's good. Yeah, I guess Gwen's back, killing shit, and yeah, it's been good. Also, good morning, New Eden.
Yeah, welcome back, man.
Experiencing technical difficulties, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here right now, but our pictures is supposed to be on there, but you can just imagine us, and we will.
Yeah, just try to picture us with pants on.
Well, picture me without pants, please.
Nightflyer, you welcome back again. Thank you for co-hosting with me recently. It's been awesome to have you. How's life going on your side?
Life's been good, except for the remodel of my master bathroom, which keeps setting off my smoke detectors in my house. So, but it's a very stressful pain in the ass, but it'll be beautiful when it's done, and the wife will be happy, and that's really all that matters.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
This week I did turn a major a milestone in my Eve career, and probably my gaming career. And this will probably even bring up something with Samson here in a minute too. I sold off all my Plex that I had been piling up.
Oh.
I don't know if you recall a couple streams that talk about how space poor I am.
Yep.
And I can't afford the T2 rigs and stuff like that. So I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm a grown-ass man with a job and a career, and I know people do this. I've heard them do it. And realize
I don't know what you're talking about, man.
Yeah, I have no idea.
So just over the last 2 years, I've bought these little packs and stuff, and I'm sitting on this Plex, and I'm like, I got to stop stressing out about my Eve money, and just have fun with it. Like I said, I'm a grown-ass man with a job. I can do this.
Man, it's it's any other hobby. You buy some another kit or another something, and if it makes you happy, if you have fun, why the hell not?
Absolutely. This is my crack, and this is what I'm going to spend, my money on. So, and it was just funny because Samson's stream, they were talking about that too. Where are you spending your money? What games are you spending money on? So, felt like.
Are you talking about my show?
I was talking about your show. I'm one of the guys that listen to it. I'm your tens of listeners. I'm one of those.
Oh, shit. Strength in gaming. Okay. Yeah, we did talk about that. And, of course, my answer was Eve. I spent the most money on Eve. Yes. Yeah. It's true.
Mine is too. I mean, I buy games up front, but buying packs and stuff I never got into. I've done it with Eve. This is the only game I've ever bought a subscription to. So taking an extra milestone of actually using cash to fund my my in-game currency. Like I said, I'm feeling like a grown-up now. I'm feeling like an actual gamer.
And good old Buckethead says it's like meth. You just buy more.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's one of the things that I do think that there is the huge amount of people spending money on this game. I would say average person spends more than the $20 a month for the subscription that actually plays the game. I don't know how much, but I would estimate.
And it depends, like on like how many alts you have, right?
Yep.
Or if
because that's a big one. That's if you're alting it up.
Multi-boxing, you're probably also paying for other things. It kind of goes hand in hand, unless you started early and you're already fucking rich and you don't need to, right? Like.
Yeah, Ashterothi is also with us here today. He jumped in. Hey, Ashterothi, how's it going, man?
The great and powerful Ashterothi.
I don't know if
no.
he.
Hey,
there it is.
I forgot. This is push to talk or something.
You shouldn't need to be pushing.
No, I had it turned on from the other Discord.
Yeah, it does that.
Give me 1 second.
A lot of fleets have it forced, which is understandable because hot miking is a thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it-
that's
Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashterothi. Thank you for having me.
yes, thank you. Thanks for
Welcome
coming
back.
on by. There's a lot of stuff going on. So have you been keeping up with the Alliance tournament at all?
Yeah, I watched probably about half of the Alliance tournament over the last couple of days. I watched Pizza dunk Snuff, which
Yes.
Yes,
Oh, we'll
that was
definitely
something we
talk about,
love. Yeah, we definitely want to talk about that. But that was awesome.
yeah, and then they did pretty okay today. But the good news is that they move on. So
Yes. Yep. So they're going to be moving on.
that's all
Ursha
that matters in the
Khan
end.
won their fight as well.
Yeah.
Because these are all qualifiers. So
Yep.
beyond just moving on, it doesn't matter. This doesn't it isn't. You're not knocked down into the loser bracket yet, as it were.
Yeah, and I want to shout out to Prismatic Legion because they moved on too. I am a merc on their team, so I got to listen on their comms during their
Nice.
matches. It was fun.
I saw a Spectre fleet dunked Goonswarm today.
Wait, they brought you in as a merc just so you could listen in? That's
No, they brought me in as a merc. I was brought in as a merc, and then they just had more than enough pilots on the day of. So I just decided to stick around and listen in because they let me.
Yeah, what was that experience like?
Oh well, it was really cool. It was interesting to see it, to hear it, the actual FCing happening as it was unfolding. I turned off the commentary during that match because it was the overlap was weird, and it's also delayed a little bit. But shout out to Der Schattengeist. He's a pretty badass FC, and yeah, I mean they pummeled. I don't even remember. It was we're trying. What was it? I forget what the who they fought.
I forget who
But
they fought as well, but
They
yeah.
also got a bit of an advantage because the other team didn't have as many pilots. But
Yeah,
no,
there was it was like 7. They only brought 7 pilots into that one.
yeah, and I've never done anything with an alliance tournament before, so it was actually really good for me because it was like no stress, and I now I know what it's about. So if we decide to do it at some point, or if I join another team at some point, I know better now. It's less stressful.
Unfortunately, my team did not get a win this go around the network. Great piloting, but it just came down to ship choice, and Coyotes against drones just didn't pay off this time.
Oh yeah.
Happens.
Yeah, I don't think I saw any of the network matches actually. I'm trying to remember. So they lost the 2 out of their
saw
3.
one passively, but I didn't realize that you were on their team.
No, I just I'm in their group. I support them, but I don't fly because of my work schedule.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't know you were rooting for them, I guess.
Oh, luckily I missed the match, so I didn't bet all my currency.
Yeah,
so
I bet.
can still buy
I think
one.
I lost all of my my bits on, or not bits. They're the chat points on the Ursha Khan match when they lost. I was like, God damn it! I just put them all in there. I wanted to get the skin, but I didn't have enough.
Yeah, I was expecting them to pull that one off too. So
Yeah. I think I only major bet that I did was on your
Well, I
team's
did-
Samson's.
Yeah, I did bet on Prismatic, and I won a lot, but then I lost it all with the Ursha Khan match. So there's that.
They did really good the first time. The first
Yeah, and same went for Prismatic, right? Like they did really good the first round, and they did really good the second round. So like I was like, sure, yeah, I should bet it all on them. But
And
I wasn't a big.
And huge shout out to CCP for rating us after the Alliance tournament on.
We were streaming and they rated us.
Yeah, it's like 2,000 some odd people. I mean, like 400 people kind of stuck around by the end of stream, and then I ended up
That's
rating.
a lot.
Yeah, that was.
That's a lot.
I was really surprised.
I threw out some subs, so maybe they'll come back.
Yeah, so Ashterothi, there's a bunch of stuff going on in faction warfare. Can you give us a little bit of an update as to what's all going down?
Sure. So I linked it. I linked you the resource, but the first faction campaign has begun. So this is part of the new faction warfare system. We're transitioning from the current system to the war zones or the frontline system. But another piece of that is the idea of these campaigns, that things happening that makes one place more interesting than others. In this case, you have the Surthold constellation on the Galente side, and there's 3 different constellations on the Amar side, Amar Mimitar side, but
yeah, that is interesting because their space is smaller too, right?
Right, but right now, I believe, I don't know, I don't think it has yet. Only the Turner transmitter turned on so far. So only that constellation is in play at the moment.
Okay.
So there's still the other 2 constellations. I don't believe are spawning sites at all. So
okay. So
I don't think they're in play yet. But there was a New World News today, or New Eden News today, that was like basically the tremors of people being worried about the other 2 activating. So I mean, I assume it's going to happen through the course of the event, perhaps. But either way, it's a very interesting event. It takes place only in low-sec, only in these dangerous areas. It is intimately tied to faction warfare, but you don't have to be in faction warfare to engage in basically any of the actual event itself. In fact, in some ways, it can be better to not be, depending on how it goes. Especially on the Galente Caldari side. On the Amar Mimitar side, there is an advantage where in the systems that you own, the sites will be guarded by rats of your empire.
Oh.
So they'll defend you and they'll attack other people.
Well, are they like diamond rats, or are they just like regular?
They're not terrible. They basically, the new frigates would be really effective against them. From my understanding, people are doing it with an Astero at this point, a lot. Yeah. But the new frigates that come from this event, coincidentally, would be very effective in those sites. But the 2 different sides have different objectives. On the one side, you have, on the Galente Caldari side, you have 2 different kinds of sites, but they're undefended and they are totally open. They're basically the same as if it was an ore belt or something like that. More of them spawn for the sides who own the systems, but both sides have different ore. So both the Caldari and the Galente need a different resource.
So you can't do one and churn in for the other, basically.
Right. Well, more importantly, I can't kill a Caldari guy and then take his ore and turn it in for me.
Right.
That ore is effectively useless to me. All I can do is destroy it. So, or put it in a giant can and laugh at it all day. So, but, you know, the ore itself, like, you need to mine the Galente ore and then turn it into the Galente location, which is the other thing. They both of them, while they need 2 different ores, they turn them in at one place. So you have to take them into Athenoon, which the Caldari, having had like superior, you know, position on the board, as it were, from the beginning, quickly fortified Athenoon. They basically had like a month and a half of warning, in a weird way. So they already was pretty fortified, but they basically locked down Athenoon as hard as they could, especially the first day.
Okay, yeah, and you're talking about like there was like stuff going on talking about the gates being built and stuff like that, like.
Well, often there was orders to both militias to take and hold Athenoon.
Right.
And
yeah.
so they took that seriously.
Yeah, we did not seem to take that very seriously, or didn't have the ability to take it seriously, basically.
So, what I think is happening is simply just 2 different ideas of what is the right thing to do. I think that the Caldari believe that winning the event is the right thing to do because it's big and flashy and shows off and it's engaging with the content. The Galente think, and perhaps rightfully so, that using this opportunity, the reprieve that gives, plus the fact that we know that there's a major change coming, to get as advantageous of a position on the board as possible is more important, right?
Okay.
So making sure that there are the correct locations as front lines and rear guards, I think is a very high priority for the Galente. However, Vlil was captured by the Galente yesterday, and so we saw a pretty nice fleet this morning running around. Jules was running one. So, and the Galente points have been picking up day by day. So we're certainly not in like a pace to get it at this point with what's coming in, but it is getting better and better, and more people are getting involved, and whatever. So the big issue is that, as I said, the owners get more sites. So the Galente have like 2 or 3 sites scattered throughout the entire constellation.
Yeah, a lot easier to hunt those sites down. I haven't really even gone into those sites to see who's all mining there, because I don't care. I'm looking for those Caldari miners and trying to shush them off and slow them down as best as possible.
That goes into what I was alluding to earlier, which is that, like, if you're in Gal Mill and you're mining the Gal rocks, everyone knows who you are, and the Caldari know to filter you out. We actually had somebody have a neutral alt, and every time they were looking, he would run over and be mining on Caldari ore. And then when they moved on, he would go and mine the Galente ore and trash the Caldari ore and turn it in. So, like, and the other interesting thing is, I'm not going to advocate it per se. I'm just going to explain that you actually could mine it as the enemy militia, which has the interesting consequence that if they attack you, they lose standings.
How do they lose standings if they? I mean,
If you attack another member of your same militia.
Oh yes, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
You're saying
so you join the Cal Mill, go mine in Galente sites, and then if a Cal Mill guy attacks you, he loses standing.
That is really interesting.
Because you can still contribute to the Galente side even if you're on the Caldari.
Right. It makes no difference what militia you're in for the purposes of mining and turning it in. And I know that there's been a lot of people that are like poo-pooing the whole like, oh, it's mining or whatever. Combat mining in a venture or a prospect when you know there are cloaky Lokis like on grid with you just waiting for you to make a mistake is not the fucking same thing, man. Let me tell you. That is a different kind of mining.
Yeah, no, it's definitely you see people have to be on the fucking ball, and if they're not, they lose like their ship, like, and that's in their time and effort that they put into getting all set up and everything. I've blown up prospects out there, and in a stabber, like I shouldn't have been able to lock this guy. He definitely was looking at another screen, and
multi-boxing,
because he all of a sudden came back and he was like, oh shit, and then started moving, but I pointed him, and prospect doesn't get the protection of
cloaky.
Yeah, they can cloak,
the course ability,
but now we can't do that anymore. Yeah, so
that's awesome.
So the Amar though and Mimitar side, they're not mining ore, right? Or are they mining ore?
Right. So basically the Amar Mimitar side is the inverse of the Galente Caldari side. They have they both go to the same site, although who's guarding it and what name it is based on the owner. But it's ultimately the same hacking site with the same resource. So you could, as an Amar person, kill the Mimitar and then go and turn in what they have as your credits, right? It's the resource is useful to both sides. And rather than being turned in at a single point in low sec, they're turned into 2 different points in high sec. So it's very, very difficult to actually stop anyone from doing it if they want to, especially since you're doing it is exploration hacking sites. So you're talking about exploration ships. So what we see is, while the Galente Caldari side, we saw the Caldari being able to lock out the Galente almost completely for an entire day. On the Amar Mimitar side, we have seen a much more even not even, but like a much more sporadic, and like, because the Minmatar are definitely making less than the Amar, but they are both always making progress. So it's not like the Amar can lock it down in the same way that the Caldari can.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting. So in the hacking site. So, but they go out. They do hacking sites. Do they have to scan down those hacking sites?
Yeah. Their sites are scanned down. Requires T1 or faction frigates, no pirates. Oh wait, no. It does allow pirates. That's right. That was the part I got wrong originally. Hence the Astero.
Okay. Yep.
But it's T1 only, and like a novice basically, I think. And inside there are special cans to hack that give the stellar information that you need to turn in.
And once you've scanned it down, does it pop up on the overview, or is it it's something that if you're hunting you have to scan as well?
I believe that they are just otherwise pretty standard data sites.
Okay. So you've got to scan down the person in them, or the scan down the thing. That's an interesting that it's a completely different kind of like activity. I thought that it was going to be, all of us being able to do anything, like it being both sides. But
I think it's bold. One of the things is the two sides are not the same. They never have been, and one solution is never going to be the right for both of them, basically. But I think that what we're seeing here is, like, as I said, they're inverses of each other, but at the same time, they are both fundamentally faction warfare-like activities, right? With the Galente Caldari side, it's all about taking and holding points and like, projecting your force in order to control something long enough to do whatever you need to do, either mining, plexing, turning in, whatever. Whereas on the Caldari and Amar side, it's more about running around and doing the objectives all over the place, which is also, what faction warfare is about. So they're kind of two different takes on faction warfare, but also I think that a big piece of this is that CCP wants to add new activities to supporting faction warfare, and these are the kind of things that would work very, very well in things like in headquarters systems, or even rearguard systems as an activity. Like maybe these ore sites only spawn on your sides in your rearguards or whatever.
Yeah, I could see that. This would be a nice little test bed of that activity. So, Samson, what is your kind of take just from what you've seen of this? What do you think about this?
Well, it's certainly more interesting than plexing, and I do like that it's attracted a lot of activity, and from Gwen's perspective, a lot more things to kill, and I enjoy that. Personally, so like if you're getting into faction warfare for fights, it is definitely helping with that. So I'm excited about that. I'm also it's also nice to not be flying around in the same systems all the time. I know we live in Black Rise, and it's a beautiful
actually we live
region.
in Essence.
Well, we live in Essence, but we fly a lot in Black Rise.
Yeah.
Like we kill a lot in Black Rise. R.I.P. Tama, but and fuck Snuff, but
actually that's Lone Trek, I think.
Lone Trek?
I think Tama's Lone Trek.
No, I said R.I.P. Tama and fuck Snuff.
Yes.
Right, but that's a different region. He's saying.
I'm just saying we used to be in a lot.
Yeah.
Like, we used to do Black Rise.
I don't know, whatever.
Boy, we're all getting
we used to live in Black Rise, the Tauros. We used to live in Black Rise.
We did live
and
in
the surrounding regions are where we hang out. Okay, it's our stomping ground. And then going someplace completely different, whatever region it is, I don't care at this point. That's fine, whatever. But it's a different system. It's different surrounding systems, and it's a different activity. And it's having fun, and I'm interested to see what it brings for the future, because I was thinking about as Ashterothi was talking about supporting faction warfare, like what will sides, how will they benefit from winning or doing well in these events? Like how will the benefiting of that change or affect the
Yeah.
Battlefield.
So, in the upcoming expansion, my understanding is, and I've already seen like the bare bones of it being put into Singularity, that there's an advantage system. So basically, you can do these separate activities to give your side an advantage. Now, what an advantage does, I don't know, but
yeah,
I'm guessing it's going to make
That-
it at the very bare minimum. I believe it's going to make it be easier to flip the system so that when you do a plex, it'll be worth
Right.
more points.
yeah, that was something I was thinking about too. That's a really good option for that. But the thing in this case, there is two different quote unquote rewards. The Galente Caldari side have a much more concrete, understandable reward. Both of them are attempting to build a Stargate, right?
Yeah.
Samanuni is into Caldari space, and Athenoon is nowhere close to it. And so having a bridge that allows them to get right in there and resupply that area if they own it is incredibly valuable. Now, it is technically closer to Galente space because it's like Osmodin, Maut, and then you're in the constellation. But it's still like it's an entry to go straight from HiSec into like the middle of the war zone in a way. And it also makes it, because of the way that those systems are all near each other on the HiSec side, it means that you can go everywhere from Hades and Yvonne and all there, all the way up to Athenoon, which is like in the war zone. If you look at the map of the war zone, these are radically different places, but they're like 3 jumps away from each other in HiSec. So it's going to be, it would be interesting either way. Now, one of the things about it though is that the side that only the side who owns the system can have an online Stargate. So if the Caldari get their Stargate built, it only is when they own the system that the gate will be active. And then if we have our gate, ours will be active when we own it. So
so effectively, if Gal wanted to shut down the gate, and they would take over that system. And
yes, if we just took and hold that system, their Stargate would be, the entire thing would be nuked because they couldn't use it.
And that is technically Galente space.
Right.
Yeah. Originally,
so
like,
is it like? But do we?
So we should
keep it open so we can move stuff.
That is the other point, which is that even the Galente side, I've heard even amongst the Galente, the idea that the Samanuni, the Athenoon Stargate would be valuable just because of the proximity of, Samanuni to Jita.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
no, and that's having
that is
access
also
to a
another
trade
reason why
hub
we
is
see such a one-sided operation, basically.
there is less incentive. Our trade hub does suck.
We're working on it. It's actually we've been putting up quite a bit of stuff on it. So Dodixie, buy Dodixie.
Yeah, I should. I live out of Yvangir, and I should just shop out of Dodixie. It just is.
Let me know if you see any problems. I'll get them corrected.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna from today on. I'm. And you know what? It's safer to go that route actually.
Exactly.
We need more exotic dancers, female.
Yes.
I have quite
and
a bit
male.
of both.
So the Amar have the Amar Mimitar side has a much less defined goal. If they succeed in their objective, then their side completes the stellar research, whatever that means. Now,
magic.
These do involve transmuters. The transmuters are based off of Triglavian technology. I've made several videos as to why this is terrifying. But if we want to look at it from just a purely what's going on mechanically, what is CCP trying to do kind of thing, not what is the Amar trying to do, CCP Fozzie has hinted that both sides of this event are key to some future thing, which is the technology that the empires are trying to actually develop. That this is a step in that direction. And so the winners will have advantage in the next phase potentially. But the point is that it really does seem, and some of the hints have suggested, that what we're looking at is the new devices that like Nullsec could use to customize their space by activating a transmuter on their star, and depending on which transmuter would affect maybe what materials are available, what rats show up, what special effects are in the system, etc., etc. This is something that CCP's talked about doing for over a year now. It is something that they were working on as a pretty high priority. But these transmuters are, they've said that they're going to be introducing new stuff for everybody through these arcs, and it really seems like this arc is leading towards the transmuters becoming a technology that we use to alter our systems. Now, everybody get your tinfoil on, because that was actually the normal stuff. The other thing that's happening is that in Samanuni and in Amy whatever, there are new construction sites spawning. There are 6 of them in Samanuni, and I believe there's 6 of them in Amy as well. The 6 in Samanuni are one near each Stargate-ish, and one on the planet, like 2 other planets. But not all the planets have one of these things. Inside, there's not enough for us to tell exactly. The most relevant structure is this pause stick. But if you go into the files, they also just added in a new thing that appears to be that pause stick as a non-interactable object. And it's like called Caldari Tower Do Not Translate or whatever, right? But the thing is that right before they patched it to Tranquility, they renamed it to that from its original name, which is Listening Post Event. So, Nullsec, you might be able to customize your space soon, but you might need these new listening posts to compensate for local.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I think that's kind of a cool idea, because the complete blackout, I think, was a problem.
Right.
But some systems being blacked out because there isn't a true infrastructure there and nobody gives a fuck about them, then it does open up opportunities in that space, because there's no fucking local.
Yeah, this is something I was suggesting even around blackout, because it's like, what the problem is that we don't actually have an intel tool in the game. Local is a chat program, not an intel tool. We use it for that, and that's why, like, if you went anywhere else in like gaming space, like online gaming space, and you tried to explain to people that the company was completely awful and the game was unplayable because the chat system goes down for a couple of minutes every few days, no one would understand, right? But in Eve,
we've lost everything.
Absolutely critical. And that just tells me that we are defaulting on that and don't actually have real intel tools. So not only would this allow that to be a little bit more interesting and dynamic, but theoretically there could be like a security officer that has to monitor the listening posts, or you can look at the status of all your listening posts if you have specific roles or whatever. Again, I don't know for sure whether or not this is what it is, but I was saying, I was looking at it, and it could be listening post-event. In other words, this is what happens after the event. But if it's listening post-event, then that kind of hints towards a future event. And since these construction yards are very, very early in their construction, it makes sense that it would come maybe early next year, for example. Whereas the transmuters may come sooner.
And yeah, and this is all part of like the arc kind of setup of like, you know, they slowly introduce you into stuff by having things like because before they even told us that we needed to hold down that system, I believe we were getting reports of shit going on in faction warfare.
That is actually a really good point, which is the reason why Surfood is important, is because it is just completely infested with the Triglavians. And in particular, we have camera footage now from one of the outside of the Triglavian facility on Othanoon planet. So, the Othanoon is the system where the Edencom structure began decloaking. That was the kicker for all of this. Yeah. So, that's which brings me to my interesting point, which is that Samanuni is also an Edencom fortress, and directly next to Amy is another Edencom system. which is sort of sus. You might say, hey, Ash, next door to an Edencom system, that's like a lot of systems. But the thing is that these construction yards are not just being built in this home system with the Stargate. They're being built one system out too. So if you go to systems adjacent to Amy or Samanuni, you will also see construction sites. Less, but you will see them. I haven't looked into exactly like where they're located. Maybe they're the other side of the Stargates or something like that. But I guess either this is all an Edencom plot, in which case both gates should be stopped, or more likely than not, if we continue to monitor this and you guys start seeing these construction sites spread further, you better be fucking ready for local to go away, because the empires are building up their own infrastructure.
Oh wow, yeah, it would be a good way to warn the nullsec. So Nightflyer, we haven't heard from you recently. What do you think about all this craziness that's going on in faction warfare space? And
it's definitely interactive. I've had the opportunity to go up to the afternoon area and hit up some of these mining sites just to see what that's all about. And it's definitely not AFK mining. You are gonna have to keep your head on a swivel. I would go into start mining and have to jump out right away. But yeah, I didn't try to go into afternoon and drop off whatever ore I had. I started taking part in the other fleets that were going on up there, trying to push back the Caldari. But yeah, it's interesting. I would really like to try to get into some of the mining fleet aspect of it. There's a coordinated group going into these sites. And Ashterothi, do you know if these sites can be mined out? Are they like anomalies?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Mined?
The rocks get mined out, and then the site despawns and spawns somewhere else within the constellation, just like any other like anomaly or whatever.
Okay.
Although they're beacons.
Yeah, I think the Caldari may be done already.
No, they're not done.
No. So I was just thinking, as a counter, you could, have, like you were talking about your alts and stuff. You could go like mine out those ore anomalies too, so that they can't do it. You can do.
Yeah, we've actually seen a lot of people bringing like C-type crystals and burning through them, and then leaving like a rock with a little bit of ore in it. So that way, somebody has to come, finish mining that rock, then it respawns. It's kind of like door stopping.
Yeah.
So play and counterplay, and that's what it's all about. But it's definitely interactive, definitely for a lot of people to do. And I had seen a lot of Asteros and stuff in the area, and I know that there was some scanning sites, but that's only on the Mimitar and the Amar side is the scanning.
Yes, we do not have hacking sites on our side.
Okay, so maybe they're just scanning, but there were definitely a lot of them in the system in that area. Maybe it's just so.
Yeah, I mean, like the Astero is a nice, cloaky, fast
hunting ship,
little ship. Yeah, I mean, like it's if you're not trying to mine, it's one of the better ships to be running around in.
But big shout out to the guys in the fleet last night for Galmil that took down the system. What is that? Vil. Yeah.
Yes. With Vil down, that allows us to focus more.
I was out there in my baiting Vexor, and it was working pretty well, keeping their the Harpy fleets and stuff out. So until I got stupid and let them scan me down. But other than that, it was fun up until that point. But those guys were really, really grinding away at that. And so
speaking of scanning down, that does remind me. As I said, these sites are not even dead space. So if you like make a perch, which I strongly recommend you do, and then you warp there in your ship and then just like sit there because you think you're safe, a T3 destroyer and gang will land on you within within a minute probably.
Yeah.
So you gotta be cloaky.
Right.
Just hide.
Now, I will also say that if you're just a watcher, right? Like I'm a scout, right? Like so I spent an entire day in Othanoon just watching the gate, watching all the shit happening, watching like looking at locals, seeing how the Caldari like evolved throughout the day, watching Mr. Chuck Norris dunk everything around him for like 30 minutes or more.
Caught by that fleet that He
Yeah.
was chasing us and he got caught by that fleet. That was funny.
Yeah, well, I mean, he keeps reshipping and going in, but like, it was hilarious to watch him and like 2 other Deimoses just dunk everything that came to the gate to try to stop him.
Yeah, he was in a Vedmak when we were fighting him. That was fun.
Yeah, but you know, just go to these belts. The problem is people keep asking like, well, are there fleets? Where's the organization? What do I do? Where do I go? It is a shit show in there. Okay, like we need all kinds of strategies. Do you want to get in a venture and ninja mine? Do you want to try to be in a prospect and try to hide? Do you want to run around and try to kill things? Do you want to be one of these cloaky Lokis? Do you want to try to counter the cloaky Lokis? Do you want to, like, it's all there right now. And worst case scenario, just go out there in something with a cloak and just watch one of these sites for a little while and see all of the things that happen. It is, there's a lot of different things happening in that particular constellation at the moment.
And that's one of the things too about PvP in general that people, maybe not everybody realizes. We're talking about intel tools and the lack thereof, and the ones that we've created ourselves as players. But sitting around and watching a system all day, you'll learn a lot. And there's something to be said for, say, like, you scan down all the sites at the beginning in the morning and then just wait around, and when someone arrives at one, all you got to do is warp to it and kill them, right? Like, you don't I mean, there's a lot more activity going on here. It's different, but like in a like in our system, in Yvanger, like, you just, if you already know all the sites that have spawned at that time, then hunting is so much easier. No one gets scared away by your combat scanners because you just appear.
This is even more true in like a wormhole with a high sec static, right? Like, well, any kind of static, but I mean, like, this happened all the time with when Atlantis was operational. We would have our people that were like guarding it throughout the day or like active in it during the day. They would just have explorers come in. Now we would obviously message them or whatever, either before or after. But if one wanted to wait or like kill a bunch of guys, it is a very good fly trap to have already scanned down the signatures. The 2 most powerful things in EVE is information and trust.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah, being a streamer, I can definitely, a PvP streamer in faction warfare, I could say that it's always an interesting thing when you don't have the when you're so open and public about your information. it makes it a lot easier to fuck with you.
It's sort of speaking to combining those 2 things. When I soloed a Raven on our gate in Yvanger, I had been watching that area for like a week. I knew the person that was flying the Raven. I knew that they were not a PvPer, and as soon as they put that Raven on my side of the gate, I just started circling them in an AUG Navy, and they said, "Are you friendly?" And I said, "I don't know. Are you? Why don't you find out and shoot me?"
Which, that actually reminds me that the nice. Yeah, well, you started with that.
My alt shot first because he wouldn't fire at me, so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna kill you now.
And Can't Touch This, thank you for the follow.
So the other side of that, I remember when I was deployed in Iraq, this was something that was drilled into us, which is never have a pattern. Don't do the same thing twice.
Yeah.
As soon as you start having a pattern, anytime you can predict your opponent's actions, no matter what they are, you can begin the process of exploiting them, right?
And
like, if you know what they're going to do, you can use that against them. If you are predictable, they can use it against you.
And it's also really good to be predictable if you know what you're doing and you know that you're predictable, because then you can be like, okay, I can tell you guys right now, Snuff is going to drop me. So if y'all want to come, either watch the show,
become unpredictable
or
after being predictable for a long time,
I
or
know
for a
that they're
certain
going
time.
to drop me today, like just because they know that I'm going to do the same thing, and I know that they're going to do the same thing. Like, so like the predictability is a big thing. Like when people and I hope that the Raven that I blew up learned a lesson, right? Like, no, don't trust the locals in Losec, first of all, unless, you know, like, and also I find I like teaching opportunities too. I don't just straight out murder people. If they do ask me like, hey, how did you do that? I'll tell them exactly. And like we're saying right now, like, I watched that section. I knew they were relatively harmless, and you know, it was just a matter of, you know, making the decision to do it at that point. But if they said something afterwards, you know, I would have been like, hey, if you want to come and farm here, you know, you could always be blue, or you could always join us, and then you know,
join us.
I'll stop shooting.
And we won't shoot you anymore.
I mean, that's why Joe Bain is blue to our corp, because he wanted to be blue to Gwen. Sorry, we love you, Joe. It's true though. It's very true.
Yeah, your gate camps. He just doesn't. He's like, I just don't want to run into that Gnosis on a bad day. Like if I fucking Astero blowed up worth a shit ton of money.
That's a callback. But speaking of Joe and PvP, we were doing the was it before? It was before we got raided by CCP, or was that a different night? That was Wednesday night. That was Wednesday night. We had Wednesday night.
Oh, yeah.
Fleet.
We weren't streaming,
and
we were just
we
fleet.
weren't streaming. And Der Schattengeist of Prismatic Legion, he told me he was going to bring a Praxis out so that we could have a good fight, and we did. It was a great fight. Again, shout out to Der. We got his Praxis because I wasn't going to fucking let it go.
Well, it was
took out my Gnosis.
We had what, 4 Gnosises against his Praxis?
No, we didn't. We had 2 Og Navies and a Gnosis.
Yes,
and
2 Og Navies and a Gnosis.
We had a Logi, but he chased it off the field immediately, which I wasn't expecting. And also, I was dual boxing. I was also the Logi, so that was making it harder.
Yes, and he got gate guns because he shot the Logi.
Because he shot my Logi, which turned out to be really good later. But that was a good fight. He took out my Gnosis, my hull tank Gnosis. Was very pissed about my hull tank Gnosis. Burned out his missiles because of my hull tank Gnosis, and then started droning hard on. I think we were all taking gate guns though. That was the problem. So
it was a cycle around.
Ariga was with us, yeah, and Der put his drones on Ariga's Og Navy, so the Og Navy was finally starting. It was getting like 50% armor, which is, you know, that's a lot of damage. So I flew my other Logi back in and kept him alive, and then I was like, you know what, it's time to end this, and I flew Gwen's curse in and just shut him down completely.
That was the best when the curse just opens up on him and just like, no more cap for you. It was like, yeah,
no cap, no, you can't. If you did have guns, you can't shoot us anymore. But what happened later that night, that was a great fight, but then we just went out, and then Joe just randomly hops onto our comms, and he hops in a Rifter, and he's trying to get over to us like before bedtime, like it's right before bedtime. And then he gets to us in a Rifter, and you, Frozen, you were in a
Tristan Headhunter, which is 2 Newts and a Nos, Web and Scram, and an Afterburner.
It's Intel, yeah. And his Rifter, and Joe's Rifter. And shout out to Grey Veil, Dirt and Glitter, for dying to our traps like 3 times.
Twice that night. So
twice that night. Well, once the other time.
We had a bunch. We had a bunch of a couple recon ships hiding out in a medium. And
in a Novid, he went in and he was flying a Comet, I think.
I think he thought that Joe. So he saw Joe on the gate, and he saw Joe warp to the Novice. He saw Joe go in. He knows that Joe's a neutral to him, so not in faction warfare. Well, no, anyways, he lands on me, and he's like, okay, so he comes in, and I think he thought we were all going to be fighting, because he had a Fed Navy Comet, which would be able to decimate both of us if we were fighting each other.
And then, of course, I decloaked it in Astero and jumped in.
Yeah, so he just is like, what the fuck is this? Like, Joe is like, that's the easiest thing I've ever done.
3v1. Yeah, that was funny. And then after that, you got his Vexer with the stabber. I shot him with my Legion, but I think you had him already.
Night Flyer, thanks for the.
That's actually a
Sub,
really good
man, that's
example
awesome.
of. Sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
was going to say that's another example of information, right? Because they made a false assumption based on bad information. They're
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
oh, he's behaving like a pirate. They must be about to fight. I'm going to go third party.
Plus, every single trap that we got him with was different, right? The first trap we got him with was combat recons. We had
Yep.
2 recons hiding in a medium. The second time we got him with an Astero.
And a neutral.
The third time you were like fucking 300 or 400 off of a Plex. And
in my
he
stabber,
was burning in your stabber, and he was burning at you in a Vexer. How the fuck is he gonna know that there's a Legion 80 kilometers off of your bow?
The best part about that though is that it ended up going from a Legion and a stabber versus a Vexer. It was a Vexer. And so I engaged him, but I engaged him too far off of you, and you didn't have a micro warp drive.
I needed like 5. Yeah, it was absolutely the wrong Legion that I was using. But I needed like 5 more kilometers, and I managed to finally get there and steal the final
kill
shot
for like 155 damage that he did. Now I was in deep, I believe, armor at that point, possibly a little bit into hull at that point, but he was. All I needed was one of my missiles to hit him in my stabber. So that turned out to be a really good 1v1 with you just popping up in the end and being like, kill now.
Being a dick. And what's good about that
kill
too?
Securing.
Kill securing, but also to Ashterothi's point, it could just look like I was being an asshole trying to get on the kill mail. I was just kill whoring or just taking your kill mail away from you because I'm a dick, which is very possible. Like he didn't know that we effed up. You know what I mean? I mean, he does now if he's listening, but that also plays into to not be predictable when you're, because like obviously we're not going to try to get him again with like the recon. Well, okay, we probably will because you never know.
It's Eve.
It is Eve, but
he's just going to see you guys in local and leave. I can't trust anything. I don't know what's going on.
It's a bunch of bullshit.
He still has that. Yeah, but yeah, it would be. I mean, and in that situation with the stabber, he could have had him. Like he could have had him. It's like what happened today. We were fighting Revolution, and they were in a Tempest, and they weren't repping at all, and they got into like 25% structure, and then they just started repping. They were like, yeah, just kidding.
Bait.
Just kidding, and then killed everybody that couldn't get out.
Awesome.
So Night Flyer, what do you think about the concept of intel being a huge part of EVE Online, like knowing stuff about your opponent or what's going on, predictability?
I think it's a farce. I think you should just get in your ships, go in blindly. It's only, the best bait is the bait you take. So
I've gotten some amazing kills just jumping into a fleet of bombers. I jumped into a fleet of bombers once in a Vengeance. That was a great fight. I mean, I killed a bomber and almost killed the second one before they killed me. Like, what the hell is this asshole doing? But yeah, well, it goes back to being unpredictable or being predictable or both. Be predictable when it serves your purposes.
You just reminded me of we get so focused on the right way to do things and da 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 da, but always remember that EVE Online is a video game about the practical application of bad ideas.
Yeah.
So how exactly. Lord Omega said, thank you so much for the follow. You say, how is the progress going towards building the gate thing going? So we talked about that a little bit before. I believe
I can give some numbers.
Yeah. Let's get some numbers.
So I reported it on 22:05. So 20 minutes ago. So whatever. Caldari is at 7,193,800, which means that they've gained 162,000 points in the last 2.5 hours. For comparison, throughout basically the entirety of day one, they averaged 100,000 an hour.
Okay.
Galente have finally crossed over 1 million, so they're at 1,055,000 with a gain of 34 in the last 2.5 hours. Amar is at 1,884,920, so 1,884,320 with a 247,000 added in the last 2.5 hours. And the Mimitar are the lowest of all four, actually, at 597,000 with 18,000 in the last 2.5 hours.
Okay.
I do also, now that we've returned to this subject, want to remind everybody that there is a competition going on. The Build the Gate competition. Help us change the course of history. Right now, the Galente Stargate will not be built if people don't actually do something about it. So, the Convocation of Empyreans have decided to do a little contest. In order, while you're doing the event, you get these tokens when you turn in the ore. These tokens are what you can use to like buy BPCs and stuff. If you contract me, all you have to do is at the end of the event or whenever you want, at the end of the event, you contract me or whenever you want me to count your stuff, I guess. You contract me your tokens and you tell me that you want me to give you a Tiamat. This makes it so that it doesn't cost any money and I'm not going to steal your tokens. The top 20 people with their tokens, count of tokens, will be getting prizes. First prize is 1,000 Plex, 1 billion ISK, and 2 skins. Second place through fifth is 1 billion ISK and 2 skins, and everything past that is 2 skins. 1 scope, 1 not scope skin. They're picked out of a box, so first come, first serve. And if the gate is successfully built, then the first place gets 2,000.
Oh wow!
Oh, double, nice.
So I just wanted to
cool little
have some fun with it.
player-made contest that you guys are doing. Super cool.
Which is what EVE's all about, man. Like player-made content is huge.
Yeah, I find it interesting when people are like, "This is stupid because it's not player-made content," and I'm like, "Yes, but it allows for player-made."
Yeah.
I mean, like, if there was nothing, if you got rid of all the lore of EVE Online and just busted it down to just being a game of, CCP doesn't do anything, doesn't change anything. You get your static game of what people want, like 2006 or something like that. I don't know when they thought the golden age was.
You want
whatever.
Good fights? Fight for something.
Right.
Fight for something. Nobody knows what people fight for anymore.
Right, it's all just about killing, and that's fun, and that'll get you so far in EVE. But I think that especially with newer players and stuff like that, having cool events and shit going on around you.
Yeah, and
reasons to fight.
I know that I say that that's pretty much all I play EVE for is killing, and for Gwen's sake, as I said in the past. But it's also the loyalty to all of the friends that I've made in the game, right? Like people present here, for example, everybody in my corp, everybody in Alliance, like we have fun, and I don't shoot blues, right? That's a thing, right? Like I could just murder everything if I wanted to. I mean, might be weird. I could be, neutral to everybody, but having blues is kind of nice, and it's a motivator. It's something to fight for. And oh yeah, Gal Mill, I guess. Yeah, we're Gal Mill, right? Is that's the...
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, these aren't expedition matches, right? Like, you're fighting. Here's the thing: you got to be able to take a stand, right? If you just go, "I'm going to help the Caldari," or "I'm going to help the Galente," you can flip a coin if you want to, but then seriously put yourself behind the task of helping your side, and lo and behold, you will be fighting for something, and you'll be fighting against people, because once you say this is what I want to see happening in the universe, that invites other people to come and disrupt that. So in this case, like, I said this on my stream too, there's a lot of naysayers about this event. There's a lot of people that are saying that it's a foregone conclusion that CCP will give us the Stargate anyways. That is absolutely not true. That is the opposite of what they've said. I'm not even going to argue that point right now. But if you're mad at CCP right now, if you have no content right now, and you think that all of this is bullshit, then call them on their bluff and stop the Caldari Stargate.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. There's the call out there. You want to see what would happen if nobody built the gates? Then let's do this. You know, just
There
come
it
and
is.
put 500 people on the fucking Stargate. Well, I mean,
Yeah, we would love
you
to
can
see
stop
that.
anybody from getting in. Like Nullsec has done that for how many months to each other on hell camping in some spot. Also, Lord of Omega did point out real quick, was that 34,000 in the last 2 hours for the Galente, or was it just 34?
1,000.
Okay, I was just making sure that one of the things was like just wow, that would be really bad if we got only 34 points in the last 2 hours.
I think that anything less than 1,000 is only based on some sort of bonus based on system control. Either for I don't know if it passively updates every once in a while or if it's like a multiplier to certain things, but it's only the sides that have all the systems that are gaining any points in the hundreds or tens column. The Galente have only ever incremented by 1,000 as far as I remember. Or as far as I know.
Okay, so everything's on the 1,000 scale, basically.
Right.
That
So
makes sense.
yeah. So when I'm talking, it's always like in thousands.
All right, yeah, unless otherwise specified, because millions
Right.
on thousands, you know. But
Well,
anyway,
yeah. If I'm giving out the full number, then that's one thing.
Right.
That's true. I guess I did transition. My bad. It's because that's how I write them in the tweet, right?
Yep.
Because I put the full number, but then I only just say like 34K in the parentheses.
Lord Omega says, I hear there's Lokis. Yeah, there's lots of Lokis. It is the meta. It is. And what I'm interested in is, it needs what needs to happen is like 2 Lokis decloak and then 2 more decloak, but they start attacking the 2 Lokis that decloak, then 5 more decloak, then 15 bombers decloak.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it that bad, but the whole idea of like one Loki decloaking and then the second Loki decloaking and killing it, yeah, that has definitely happened. Or at least shooting at it.
The huntings of the
It's
Loki.
been wild. Like I sit there and watch these fights and I can't even figure out who's on what side for like half of it.
Well, that reminds me that we should go out and do more cloaky activity. We are coming up on an hour here, so I think we'll go ahead and wrap things up. So I'm just going to give everybody a little bit of time at the end here to, if there's anything else that you wanted to talk about or something you wanted to hit up on. So Samson, before we head out, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I think I'm with Ashterothi in fight for something, and work in this event to build either Stargate. I don't care if I'm encouraging the Caldari to do it. Like, it's content, it's fun, and it's a lot going on. And obviously Gal Mill, fuck yeah, but like, that's our side and we want to win. But if you don't have competition, there's nothing going on. Like, you need the competition. So yeah, keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
And Night Flyer, what are your last thoughts before we head out?
Yeah, get involved. I mean, you want content in the game. The content is there. You just have to go get it. Even last night, they said I was having trouble getting into this fleet. I knew they were there. I knew what they were doing. They posted stuff up on the in-game chat. And I even got into fleet, but I couldn't get up the MOTD. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm in fleet. I'm sitting here in the system. I have no idea what they're doing because I can't find comms anywhere. So you reach out to a player and go, hey, can you help me get into comms? Well, they were in TeamSpeak and not on Discord, so that kind of screwed things up. But it took some time. I put in the effort, but then I got the activity. And I said the rest of the night was fantastic. So I said, there is content in this game. You might have to spend some time. It's not just going to be spoon-fed to you like they might do in other games. But it's worth it. It's entertaining. I said I've kind of pulled this game in and made it part of me, and the more effort I put into it, the more reward I get from it. And this event, I think, is going in the right direction. I said I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm hoping I get more free time here over the next couple of days to really get involved in it, and look forward to get on some of Atherosi's fleets. They look like they're pretty good. I tried to get into one the other night, and I think it was
Not
right
my
before
fleets.
his dinner time. Well, no, but it was a fleet you were part of, and then I think you bailed for dinner or something. So I'm like, oh, okay, because I was going to start asking you, like, hey, where do I go? How do I?
Oh, right,
And
right,
how do I
right,
get
yeah.
involved? And I'm like, all right, well, maybe next time.
Yeah.
So
I do have, and I said this before, if you go to aderon.org/campaign1, as in the number 1, then that should bring you to my information page that has everything about the event. It's RP, it's, the some strategies, the
Your
rules,
horse is
etc.
barking.
But oh man.
yeah, but the information's there. You can get on the Discord. If you get on the militia channel in game, it'll direct you to the Discord. From the Discord, go to the posts or the channel in Discord, which is something.
Talk about the Galente militia.
Correct. Get to the Galente militia, and you'll see people have posts up there, and they have the other tools. Like Atherosi's posted the whole breakdown, and he's given other means of, hey, this is where we can get information. So, like I said, it's there. If you just want to put in a little bit of work, you'll find it, and it gets you into the content. Like I said, I've spent some time doing it, and I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Awesome. And Ashterothi, any last thoughts from you before we head out?
Yes, but problem. I actually changed my last thought based on what Samson said, but then when he was talking, my brain focused on that. So now I don't remember what Samson said. Prompt me. What were you talking about?
What did I say at the
Yeah.
end?
What was like one of your last points?
My last points was, it was similar to what Nightflyer said, to get involved, but I believe maybe what possibly was controversial was I said, I don't care if I'm encouraging the Caldari to get out there and do more, because without competition we have nothing. Like if it's just one side doing the thing, then it's not going to be fun. You need both sides. You need participation on both sides, and so I encourage more Caldari to come out and get blown up by me.
I remember what I need to talk about. Thank you. I don't know. I don't know if this reminded me, but it is. I figured it out. Either way, Othanoon. We haven't talked enough about Othanoon itself. There's a few things that you need to know. First of all, if you are trying to drop off the Galente ore, you should just assume that it is dangerous until proven otherwise. The site where you drop off the ore, you land about 15 kilometers away from it or so, from the can. You can bookmark the can. It is not a dead space pocket. So you can then just warp to the can and drop off. Now, these sites are totally open. So they are camped very regularly. So either expect to be blapped and therefore have some sort of strategy where you turn in really quick and suicide it, or like I said, that's why I said like the whole like be very careful, assume it's dangerous until proven otherwise. The Caldari have actually thrown themselves into this. Like, to their credit, this isn't just a matter of like whether or not the Galente care enough or not. Like, the Caldari have been impressive. Like, the amount of like pulling security, the RP, like when people went to go drop off Galente ore, they wouldn't kill them. They would stop them and tell them that that's not allowed, and that they needed to jettison their Galente ore, and that they could go turn in their Caldari ore, but only Caldari ore was authorized to be made.
Wow.
and they would let them go unless they continued to try to, and if you tried to actually turn it in, then they'd blap you. So like, and they were constantly posting like, the Galente Stargate project is shut down by authority of the Caldari, state, blah blah blah, or whatever.
They are role-playing the hell out of this shit, man.
That's awesome.
Yes.
They didn't have to really care, but boy do they.
What are the... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna. I just said I didn't want to say the full name, but DK. Yeah.
I was about to say, there's a reason why I muted DK is because it's too much role play. It's like you're right.
Yeah.
You're doing. I would do it back, but I just don't have the heart right now to interact with your insanity.
But
it's
that's
so
the other
much
thing
role
is
play.
that like there's so many different things to do, and it's spread across the constellation that it's like, okay, fine. If you're just guarding Althanoon, fine. I'll just mine some rocks and I'll stash them away until you're not, and then I just turn it in all at once, because it doesn't matter. I just have to turn it in by the end of the event.
Yep.
And
It's
Awesome.
worth noting that these are
Couldn't you
big.
turn
Like
it
it's 1,000
in?
turn in. Oh, one last note about Althanoon, which is it is a Triglavian minor victory.
Yes. So
Which means-
armor reppers,
Well,
shield reppers.
yeah, remote reps, half locks, all that stuff. But more importantly, it means we're posts on the gate.
Oh yeah.
So you have two options. You either get your ass off the gate within a few seconds, you have about 10, or you go into Pochvin,
Mhm.
you kill or participate in killing one rat, you let your standings tick one tick, and then you're done. Now
Yep.
you're positive to both Edencom and Triglavians. It's pretty simple. You can do it in a fleet. Only one person in the fleet has to actually. Well, I think you have to help.
No,
activity.
every individual needs to
Every
at least
individual
shoot.
has to
Yeah,
do
that's
it,
right.
At least
That's right.
shoot.
That's right.
But yeah, it's
Actually, I think I don't know
really
if
easy
that's
to do
true.
solo,
If everybody
too.
else brought remote reps, but this is not theory crafting out.
Oh.
So,
Yeah.
either way, my point is
Remote
that
reps.
it's not that hard to do, and it fixes the problem once and for all.
Yeah, and yeah, as long as you haven't, but there have been people who've been in one of my fleets that it was like, oh, I like pissed off the Triglavian during that whole thing. I was like, oh yeah, this is not gonna work for you.
Yeah.
You need to spend
Yeah,
some
but-
time, but it's not that much. It's a lot easier than you would think to just go around and still just get on a bunch of fucking kills basically until your standings is fixed.
Well, even in that case, all you have to do is just make sure there's no standing fleet on the, or like that, because if the war post trigger, they summon their own fleet.
Those
That's the only
fleets are
reason why there would be a
scary.
fleet there.
They're nasty.
It's not actually that scary, but it's definitely scary for like a venture or prospect.
Yeah.
So the point is that you're already supposed to be knowing the status of Althanoon anyways. One of the things you should know is that there's no Triglavian rats on the gate. Then it could be potentially safe. I guess you've got about 10 seconds to get off grade before those war posts light up.
Yeah, I've got when I lost a worm to the Triglavians, that's when I was like, okay, like I expected other ships to get caught by the Triglavians, but I didn't expect them to be able to catch a worm. And when they caught my worm, I was like, that's it, we got to be friends. you and me, we got to be buddies because there's too many of you out and about in the war zone. And so yeah, keep an eye out for rats, and especially Triglavian rats. They are fucking deadly as fuck if they catch you, especially if there's a gigantic super fleet that's obviously going to melt your fucking face if you get caught. But they lock very quickly. They've got it near insta lockers.
And I guess my final thought would be, keep an eye on the news. Like we are now in watch what's going on daily, at least. Not just for the progress of this, but for things happening. We have new fleets showing up. We have, doodads dropping off of Navy guys that give us clues to the future. Like if any of that stuff excites you, don't let this slip by. These kinds of events, once it's over, you just get to hear the story.
Mhm.
Some of these doodads might not ever be available again. So, just something to think about.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a great note to end it on. Thank you, Samson. Thank you, Nightflyer. Thank you, Ashterothi, for coming on. It was a great show, and I really look forward to see what's all coming this October. We've got, the Blood Raider event that's going to be happening like it does every October, which, that'll be a cool thing. We've got the transition over to the new faction warfare system. Super excited for that. And I really do think
Fatality Day.
yeah, there's a lot of fun shit coming up ahead. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening, and have a great night.
Dilly dilly.